Welcome to Big Blend Radio with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to our new Big Weekly Blend podcast. We're going to be looking at May 21st to 27th. A lot of you have listened to our Big Daily Blend podcast, but now today, as of now, we are the Big Weekly Blend podcast. And not only is it a Big Weekly Blend podcast, but we're about to debut our Big Weekly Blend digital magazine as well to keep you up to date with what is past the week before. And the Big Weekly Blend podcast tells you what's happening the week coming up. And we look at holidays and observances, historic and pop culture happenings. We talk about music because we created an awesome music playlist for you every week in the show notes. So check it out, whether you're listening to us on BigBlendRadio.com, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Facebook, all the places, Podbean. There's a whole list of places we're at. So if you go to BigBlendRadio.com, you'll see them all. But we put all the list of like recipes and articles that pertain to the conversation. And we have awesome guests joining us to kick off our new show and to kick off our new magazine. And this is amazing because we literally are going around the world today. This is so cool. Well, we're going to North America.
Love it.
And England or the British Isles. So we're going to start off with our special guest. We've got Peggy Fiandaca. She is hanging out in her vineyard at LDV Winery in the Cochise stronghold of Arizona. So she's in Southeast Arizona. Her tasting room is up in Scottsdale, which is an amazing, beautiful art destination in central Arizona. But the winery itself and the vineyard is down, like I said, the Cochise stronghold, which is in the Chiricahua Mountains, which is absolutely gorgeous, southeast of Tucson, Arizona. And you can go to ldvwinery.com to check it out. But she's on our show every first Wednesday talking wine and teaching Nancy and I and our audience more than we ever knew about wine. And she also, her and her husband, Kurt, produced some incredible wine. So welcome back, Peggy. How are you?
I'm terrific. It's a beautiful day in southeastern Arizona. So glad to be here.
And you really are in the Cochise stronghold, right? Because I'm just now thinking, yeah, kind of. Am I
closer? We're in hills of the Chiricahua Mountains, so we're closer to the Chiricahua National Monument, which is only 15 miles away from us. So we're a little bit away from the stronghold, but in this whole area. So come visit us. It's great.
That means she has ringtail cats. She has Trojan birds.
Yep.
So for all the wildlife enthusiasts, ringtail cats are like Arizona's version of lemurs.
Yep.
Yeah, they are, right? In a way, with their little eyes.
Kind of look, yeah.
They are like little
And
lemurs.
And the long tails are pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And pointy noses.
What's happening at the winery, the vineyard? Do you have the buds blooming? What's going on?
Well, we're flowering, so it's the vineyard is growing like crazy, and took a ride through all the rows yesterday, and they're all coming out at the same time. So that's going to be an interesting harvest this year. If all of the varieties ripen at the same time, we're going to be crazier than ever. But it looks beautiful, and like I said, it's great to be down here right now.
Well, if that happens, do you need an extra couple hands for harvest? Nancy and I could come harvest. Or do you trust us for that?
We can always put you to work. So we got a big house down here. I'll put you up, and yes, we'll put you to work. Not a problem. But you'll get great food and great wine at the end of the day. So you'll have fun.
I know, because Peggy's always talking about amazing recipes, wine pairings, and all I know is Peggy knows how to throw a good party. And we haven't been to one, but we've talked to her for over a year now. And I know she knows how to party. And one of her tips is always, if you missed something as the host, don't tell anybody. And I'm kind of thinking that's a really good perspective on life. You don't have to tell everybody everything you missed,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's a good one. That's a good one. So
Mhm.
everybody, Peggy Fiandaca again, every first Wednesday, she's on our show. So we're representing America right now. Nancy and I, we travel full time across the country on our Love Your Parks tour, documenting parks and public lands and also pet sitting through Trusted House Sitters, an amazing, amazing website you need to go to, an app. If you're a pet parent or a traveler, digital nomad, this is a place for you. And we're going to get to that in a second. But today, Nancy and I are in Maryland, Silver Spring, Maryland.
Oh,
So
it's
one of the
beautiful
songs on our
today.
playlist is Silver Springs by Stevie Nicks, who celebrates her birthday this week. So, and she wrote Silver Spring from driving through this area in Maryland, the state of Maryland, on a, tour of her music, and saw the sign Silver Spring and went, that sounds beautiful. And she wrote a song about it. So that song is on the playlist, just saying. So
That's cool.
moving forward, we're going to go to where we would normally go to is Pasadena to chat with Johnny Schaefer, singer-songwriter who's been on our show for a few years. But today he's in Mexico City. I told you we're going global. You go to his website, hearjohnny.com. His music is beautiful, inspiring. We've had amazing conversations about just about everything and things you shouldn't even talk about, apparently, to some people.
Oh,
But he's awesome. And he just won, isn't it Video of the Year? A music video of the year? Music video of the year at the Pasadena
cool.
Film Festival for You Can't Hide the Light. And this is a song he sung with Melissa Manchester. And this isn't the first time he's worked with her. So Johnny, welcome back. And how is Mexico City?
Thank you. It's beautiful here. I'm down here visiting in-laws. My husband Paco's been down here for a month, and I joined him yesterday. And it's gorgeous here. I think it's 68 degrees right now, and just a few little clouds here and there, but it's been really pretty. And we're hearing all the roosters in the neighborhood, and there have been hummingbirds coming by, and it's been a really pretty day.
See, this is it. Isn't it cool to just travel a little bit, right? And get out of the comfort zone,
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
You're going to have good food, right? In Mexico.
Oh yeah, I already had some last night and this morning, so yeah.
Oh, God. Listen,
The best.
please have some chili killies for me, because it's like
I had some
chili
last night.
killies.
Yeah.
No. favorite
Tea and
dish.
cheese enchiladas.
Oh yeah. Like, I really miss Mexico. And
Yeah.
but listen, congratulations on your award, because you got to see your music video, and didn't Paco produce this? Didn't you got to see it on the big screen, not just like on
big
YouTube?
Screen, yeah,
Big
and it
screen.
looked. I saw 38 short films during the festival, and I have to say, ours. No, none of them looked or sounded better than ours. I was really, and many of them had crews of dozens of people at the, in the credits at the end. We had a crew of 4 people, and
Wow.
I'm really proud of what we accomplished.
Awesome.
I met dozens of filmmakers, and I've made some good connections. So hopefully I can get my songs into some more movies and TV shows and things. Made a lot of great connections, and it was a blast. I had a wonderful time, and it was a big surprise because the music videos that we were up against were all really good. So I'm
Cool.
really, really happy about it.
Cool.
And
That's
I love
awesome.
that you posted on social media, you were talking about how musicians need to connect with the filmmakers. Like, you don't go to these
Yeah.
events and just sit back and be a wallflower. Get out there, make those connections while you have them.
Oh yeah, especially with the threat of AI coming in,
Yeah.
like Google has been downloading all the music that has ever been uploaded to YouTube, and they're matching it with the keywords that we put in so people can find the videos that tell people what the videos are about. So they're having their computers analyze all of these things to learn how to compose music for different emotions. And the idea is eventually a filmmaker could go to a Google website and type in what mood they want and how long, and then it'll kick out music, and then they don't have to worry about residuals or anything like that. But as I said in my, human beings should be telling human stories. It's about authenticity, and nobody's going to tell them better than us. And so it's more important than ever that we make these connections.
I love that you bring that up, because we are going to do a
Yeah.
show on AI, because there's some good points to it. It helps us on certain ways, but some of it is really overstepping. We are going to do some panel discussions on it. And this
Oh, great.
this does,
Mm.
and I do want to talk about Spotify and how now you may love an album on Spotify, but if you only listen to one or two songs, that's all you get. So you never have the
Mhm.
full album experience. Don't start me.
Mhm.
But hey, listen, our music playlist, by the way, will have all the songs that we talk about on the show today. But I want to go to Angela Laws next. Angela we call her Auntie Angela, not Auntie, unless you're here in the States, but we don't like the word Auntie. Auntie is far better. Auntie Angela is the community manager of Trusted House Sitters. And in July, Nancy and I would have been with Trusted House Sitters for 3 years. We've done over
Awesome.
85 pet sits, I think, so far
So much fun.
across the country. And a lot of them are repeat sits, because then you get to know the animals, you get to know the pet parents. Right now we're in Maryland in Silver Springs, and we're taking care of 2 dogs that we know, and then their new puppy in the household. And let me tell you, AI cannot do this. I don't care how
No.
many automatic
No.
feeders you have,
No.
automatic irrigation
No.
systems. I don't care how much automated stuff you have in your household, Google controlled, but when your internet goes out, guess what? It's all down. And guess what?
Mhm.
Pet
Yeah.
sitters and house sitters to the rescue. Isn't that right, Angela? And welcome back. AI cannot take us out, because there's nothing like
No.
the human being going, stuff went down and you need the human hand.
Well, yeah.
Hi, Nancy, and hi, Lisa,
Hi.
and Johnny and Peggy and Glenn. You know what? I've just come from a meeting that we've had for the last 2 hours on AI, and I actually
Mhm.
said that in the meeting that, yeah, it's got its functionality, it's got its place, and it's got its importance. And oh my gosh, yes, it's there, but it doesn't take over pets and it doesn't take over people. And the moment that it does, then we're in a sad situation, because community is human beings and it's pets and it's
Mhm.
all. And how many times do you hear, I know I do from our community, but we just want to talk to a real person. And
Mhm.
and and that's what this is about. And it's like everything else. And interesting, as I say, I've just come from a meeting. And the other interesting thing too, I mean, I can't get over that you've been with us for 3 years and 85 sits. And how many pets have you actually brought into your life and met and everything else? And it's that experience. And so when we're talking about this, it's about connections and really being part of something. And pets don't get fed by AI. They don't get
No.
walked by AI. They don't get loved by AI. They actually get loved by people. And that's
Mhm.
what Trusted House Sitters community is all about.
It's relationships.
Well,
It
yeah,
is.
and I don't
Absolutely.
want to be a robot, and
No,
I
No.
don't want to deal with a robot.
Mhm.
but
I really don't. I want to talk to people and plants and animals. I have absolutely no interest in robots. None
however,
whatsoever.
I love to hear it when we're at a pet sit and the irrigation goes off on time. And irrigation goes at this time.
It's a
And
timer.
so but the time or whatever. But I know, Peggy, do you use AI, right? At some point in the vineyard?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. So we
There's-
can
yeah.
monitor our irrigation from anywhere in the world and turn on, turn off, depending
yeah,
on the weather
but
and
that-
that type of thing. But
That's not like to me, when you say AI, it's like, here comes a robot in your house. May I serve you, madam?
Right.
No,
No.
but Peggy, at the same time, you still need someone to go look at the leaves of the plant, right? There's still,
absolutely, absolutely. Yep.
it's
Yeah.
a balance. I think it's a tool. And
Yeah,
it
I think
should be,
automation. Go ahead.
yeah, it's a tool. I want to bring Glenn on here, because I know he's jumping up and down already, because he's so into human connections and keeping things
Yeah.
small business and keeping authenticity and integrity and everything. And Glenn Burrows, he's on our show every 4th Saturday. He owns Norfolk Tours in England. but his tour company is, again, that it's not cookie cutter. There is no such thing as cookie cutter with Glenn.
No.
You want to go find your family's ancestry, or you want to go on an art tour, you want to go find out the wineries in England. If your children are going to college in England, Glenn is a person to call. And it's an intimate experience, like Trusted House Sitters, right? It's these true experiences that I think we all really need in the world of today. And he's also a family history expert, and he just rocks. He's been on our show how many years, Glenn? I can't keep up with it, but we're all younger, right? So
Well,
Norfolk-tours.co.uk, and if I didn't say it, trustedhousesitters.com too. So welcome back, Glenn.
yeah, hi. Yeah, it must be about 12 years, I think. But anyway,
Mhm.
I so agree that you need the proper connection that you just need with real people. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
one of these people who will not use the automatic tills in the supermarket. I will not use the automatic checkout in the library. I do not use such things because I want to talk to somebody. You know, if I go to the bank, if there's a, you know, a paying in machine, I don't use it. I do not use any automated stuff because I want to go to the counter. And you very often get someone come up to you in the supermarket or in the bank. Oh, are you just paying in? Yes. You can use the automatic. No, I don't want to. I won't do it. You know, at the end of the day, this is why so many people are going out of work, because everything's
Exactly.
being automated. I'm old enough to remember when you used to go to the garage and have someone actually fill up your car with petrol. You know, you don't even do that now because you have to do it yourself.
Hey, but wait. We have one state in this country that does it.
Yep.
Oregon. And
Yep.
Oregon. And you sit and go, wait, there's somebody touching the car. And see, that's the exact, this is how it
we're all,
becomes.
like,
Because you're
petrified.
so used to, like, are they going to know how to put the nozzle in the tank?
Will they
Yes,
put
they
the big
do.
cap on?
And you can sit in your car and let somebody do that, and they're getting paid. And a lot of times it's teenagers getting their first job, which is quite cool. You want that.
Exactly. Exactly.
We have one gas station in Arizona that still does that. Only one.
Where?
Oh, dude.
Where?
In Scottsdale. Yep, in
No
Scottsdale.
way.
Yep.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh,
just
I had
one.
no idea, Peggy. That is amazing. So
Yep.
this is really about relationships. So Peggy, at the
Yes.
winery, I know, listen, I got to bring up May 25th is National Wine Day. And I know you have an event going on, but isn't it like for the winery, because you're not this huge winery taking millions of acres and producing, you know, gazillions of liters of wine, though we wish you would produce gazillion, but it wouldn't be the same quality, right? You're you know, a small lot winery, and you produce really handcrafted wines, really attention to detail, attention, even though you're using AI, that's a tool, you guys are hands on, literally. And with your tasting room, seems to me that relationships is one of the biggest parts of how you are successful with your business.
Absolutely. As probably everyone on the phone understands, we know that, and I work with my wine concierge in the tasting room and say your job is to curate an experience around wine. And I know from the many years I traveled the world and collected wine, was I purchased more wine when I had a great experience talking to someone about the winery and about how the wine was made and what went into it. And so I wanted to apply that same kind of philosophy to our approach. So yeah, we're talking about our wine, but my folks can talk about any kind of wine or any kind of wine region. And that's how we make our with our customers. When we started, we said, you know, wouldn't it be great if we just had 1,000 friends that drank our wine and we just partied with them? We'd be successful. So that's what we're
I
trying
want
to
to be
do.
your friend. I wanna be your
Yeah, you're my friend.
Hey, but you know, Peggy, but you know, when we got here, And Angela, this is the thing about relationships, right?
Right.
When we came to, this is our second time at this set, and I will tell you, we became friends with this couple of ladies here, to the point of we spent New Year's Eve on a Zoom call with them while we were at a sit, and so all the dogs could connect over like Zoom. Sorry, but this is how we are. We're all
Right.
animal pup people. And so we came back and they're like, we drove from Texas to Maryland to do this sit for a Mother's Day weekend, which is Nancy's birthday weekend, everybody. So Nancy's been,
Happy
having a
birthday.
good time. And we did this because of this relationship. And like AI can't do it. And now we have a puppy that, hey, wants to jump fences, do all this, but
He's
they
so
they wanted
funny.
someone that already knew the animals, that already could, you know what I mean? It's a relationship where you will go there. You know what I mean? You will take care and do the best you can. And when we get here, Peggy, they had Maryland wines for us to taste
Perfect.
because they know we love wines. And I have to tell you, Maryland produces good wines. I had no idea, but they were good,
Perfect.
Peggy. They do a white Zinfandel, which I didn't know they did out here, and it's almost rosé like. It wasn't like that boxed stuff. You know what we're talking about.
Mm-mm.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
But it was like a rosé,
It was
very
kind of
crisp.
mixed. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I was pretty
Right.
surprised. So, because we were talking about New World and Old World wines, the last show you were on, and everybody,
Mhm.
there's a crossword puzzle that Peggy's podcast is on, celebrating World Wine Day. It's not national, it's World Wine Day now on this show.
Mhm.
So everybody, that's in the show notes, but I thought that's pretty interesting that they do that out here. I didn't
Well,
even think of that.
I think that's a great thing to do to celebrate National Wine Day, which is May 25th, is that you do try a local wine and
Yeah.
you support a local winery and don't turn your nose up over, maybe Arizona wine or Maryland wine or Texas wine. Try it. There's great wine being produced everywhere. Even the UK is producing some incredible champagne and wonderful wines now. So explore. Don't get stuck in a rut and I'm only going to drink a Cabernet from Napa Valley or whatever it might be.
No,
But
you don't do
try
that.
something new. Go
Mhm.
local.
I totally agree with that.
Mhm.
But I also want to say, how would you like in the future if you think about humans being replaced by robot? So your waiter is now a robot, and you ask your robot.
There's hotels doing it. There's
What?
hotels doing it.
In
No,
West
They're
Hollywood,
already doing it.
there's
Yeah,
a
what
restaurant
kind-
delivering food by a robot to
No,
people's
but
houses.
okay, but
Mhm.
if you're at a restaurant and you ask the waiter, "What do you like on the menu?" And so now you're asking a robot, "I do not know. I do not eat
Yeah.
food."
This is Nancy and
Seriously.
Alexa. Every house we go to, Nancy talks to the
Yeah.
Google thing or the Alexa and asks, "Are you married?"
I know so much
What
fun.
what she of course asked everyone if they fart. What does a fart sound
Yeah.
like? She goes through the whole thing. She's completely, but this is the thing about robots. So Johnny, so people can have food delivered, right, by robot at this point.
Yeah,
Okay,
I've had
this is
three different people have put on their Instagram like a picture of the robot that brought the food to
no.
their house. And
Oh,
they thought
okay.
it was really cool, but
So I'm adding a song to the playlist for this because we're pet sitters.
Mhm.
Who let the dogs out
Yeah,
when the
who let the
robot
dogs
came?
out? The robot did it.
The
Yeah.
robot. Glenn, I want to ask you, are there robots in your neighborhood delivering food?
Not as far as I'm aware, but I don't do takeaways apart from fish and chips. The only
Oh.
takeaways I do is fish and chips.
Hey,
Uh,
do you still have newspaper with your fish and
robots
chips?
gonna have
No.
like the robots can have different accents. So the
Oh,
American
boy.
robot will have really,
Mhm.
and the British robots will have a different accent.
Well, okay. So when we pet sit for people And if they have an accent, because we've pet sat for people from England, South Africa, and all different places, we change our accents accordingly, and the animals respond better. Have
Hmm.
you done that, Angela?
Oh, I mean, I've sat pets and animals and dogs and cats and horses that respond to foreign language. I mean, Spanish, I've sat horses that actually respond to Spanish commands. So
Mm.
I've learned those commands, and actually some of them are bilingual as well. But no, I mean, they do. They learn from their pet parents. But
Yeah.
one of the things that I want to say, and I know we're having this conversation, and I know we'll go on to other things, but the one thing that I think is being overlooked, and it really, really troubles me about AI and about the way this is leading, is we're talking about relationships, we're talking about community, and Trusted House Sitters has got a unicorn community. There's nothing like the community that we have. But
Oh,
the
it's
one
awesome.
thing is there is a loneliness epidemic in this world, and it's not
Mhm.
just next door to me. It is an epidemic, and there are
Mhm.
those who never ever speak or see another human being.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
their pets are their lives, and their pets are their families, and when they lose them, it's absolutely devastating. But
Yep.
one of the things is that that loneliness is only going to grow if this takes over. And interestingly, there are three people in history, three key people in history who have actually regretted what they've done. The first one was the scientist that split the atom. He wished he'd never done it. The second one is the breeder in Australia, who was the head breeder of the Australian Blind Association for the Blind. He was the first person. He was the first breeder who actually crossbred poodles and came up with labradoodles. He did that.
Oh,
He actually
I
did it
gotcha.
best of intentions, because he was looking for a puppy that one of their clients, who needed a seeing eye dog, who needed an assistant dog, and was allergic to all dogs. So he did that. He then later said he wished he'd never done it. He did it with the best of intentions, but we know where that's led. It's now we're back to this scientist who created AI, and he's actually gone, I regret doing this. So we are the custodians of this world. We're the custodians of how we move forward. And I just pray that it's used in a sensible way, and it's used for the benefit and not for the detriment of humankind, because
Right.
we people, we need,
Mhm.
that's it. One of the big trade-offs, or not trade-off, one of the big benefits of what we do are the connections and the friendships that we made. I've
Mhm.
made friendships in Trusted House Sitters with people I would never ever have met unless I'd gone to look after their
Mhm.
I
furry
agree.
family member, and they've now become lifelong friends. If we take that away, my goodness, where are we going? Where are we going?
Well, yeah. Well, through us, Nancy and I, we are able to connect. And by the way, if you hear a snort, I have a Frenchie on my lap. She Miss Pip.
But they're so
Hello,
cute.
Pip. Oh, now Pip is about to lick my lips. But anyway, Pip,
Mhm.
Pip is here on my lap and says hello to
Aw,
everybody.
he's
Pip
so
is the
Mhm.
sweetest little Frenchie. And if you go on my Instagram, big_blend Lisa, I think it is underscore whatever between the words, and look at my reels, you see Pip attacking he's going after the pool thing.
Yeah.
He's got a thing, and everybody's arguing, is he going damn it at the thing, or
It's the
what is
damn
it?
it dog.
But anyway, but no, going back to that, Nancy and I think through these intimate experiences, and I want to go to Glenn with this, and then also, I think that these, I mean, with what Peggy does with the wine tastings and people being in a tasting experience, with what Johnny does with music, what we're all doing with pet sitting. And I mean, even just with what I used to do, running around selling ads, in my truck, and, slinging print magazines. I used to go in the back of restaurants, and I was talking about this, being a salesperson at that time, you actually got to know everything about a community. And I would never want to lose that in the world. I want the behind the scenes. And you know, I had a relationship with, you know, and still do, you know, that's what I do. And you have these relationships where you actually know what's going on because you build a relationship, but this intimacy of trusted house sitters as a travel experience is that we are connecting with people through pets and travel, two things that are dear to us. And as the world is completely polarizing itself with politics and absolute 100% BS drama, we are able to sit down and have conversations because we know the pets are like the kids. They're like,
Yeah.
we don't want that to go away. We know
Well,
everybody in the room here cares about this. We have these intimate experiences and we come together on where we can agree. And if there's disagreements, we go, let us hear each other out, because
Right.
the animals are the center focus. It's kind of like a marriage, it's like a family. And it's, I think that's a very precious thing to have when people come together of a different focus, whether it's you go in a birding group and go look for birds. Glenn, you take people out, maybe not on the same path of you, you know, politically, but you're going to connect on something. And through that, don't you have a foothold to connect when we have relationships versus the ding ding on our phones?
Well,
know?
the main thing is that if you've got a shared interest, nothing else matters anyway, because you know, at the end of the day, you've got 6 people in this room, so to speak. I really have got no idea what political leanings, what interest you've got, but actually we can still have a very sensible conversation, because we're not talking about anything that's actually going to be inflammatory. We're just talking about life in general. And generally speaking, if you get a group of people together in a room and just have one subject to discuss, you're just going to have a sensible conversation. It's when other things start getting involved, you know, about whether, you know, whether you're, I don't know, whatever you conversation could go towards. But if you don't involve all that other rubbish, just a conversation, it works in a group of people.
Well, how would you like to talk to a robot? I mean,
exactly. That's the point. That's where,
Mhm.
yeah,
You know,
that's yeah.
when you think about it, why do we want to replace ourselves? Why do we want to take jobs
Mhm.
from people?
Mm.
Yeah.
What is the benefit? The only benefit of robots that I can see is the top 5 to 10 people in a huge company that makes the robots, that fields in all the money. That's all it
Mhm.
is. It's money for the top echelon in some
Mhm.
company
Dang.
making
We're
robots.
off and running. We're off and running.
No,
Peggy,
it's
give us
true,
some
and
wine.
it's not no, but it's not
Yes, we need
it's not
some wine.
helping no, but it's not helping mankind at all.
Mhm.
It's not helping anybody who needs any help. It is pure and utter
Well,
greed.
here's the thing. I think travel
So there,
changes
I rest
everyone's
my case.
perspectives, because you are going to lose your comfort zone whenever you travel. Now, Johnny, you just flew into Mexico City. I know you've been there before, but
Mhm.
you just have already changed. You've already gone through a little bit of a comfort change, haven't you? Just flying
Yeah.
into Mexico City.
Definitely. Yeah. When one thing that I always notice when I come here is just the drive from the airport, driving through different neighborhoods, all the public art that they have here.
Oh,
And
nice.
so many times people here, when they do things around their house, when they put in a new sidewalk, they'll put stones and little mosaics or
Cool.
drawings in the concrete. Or I saw a house that had wrought iron on the windows, and they put little wrought iron birds on the bars, you know, and just little things like that that are artistic human touches that make it something more than just functional. And it's everywhere here, so much more
Neat.
than in LA, you know, when I drive around.
Mm.
You see public expressions of art, and you see kids walking around with violin cases and guitar cases here way more than I do down in LA.
Wow.
And so I think there's this whole human cultural side, you know, that we're in danger of
Mm.
curtailing or losing.
Mm. And I think that's where it goes to, like, I want to go to Peggy, being a winery and a small lot winery, that when people get to go and have a tasting in your tasting
Mm.
room, and then do the special events where they get to meet you and Kurt, your husband and winemaker, and and your staff, doing the regular events and tastings, this becomes something different than just table wine, which is fine too, but there's this
Absolutely.
it's the art
Yep.
form of it, right?
Absolutely.
It's not the drinking, it's the table.
Hmm.
I mean, not the table, it's the craft, it's the understanding, the farming, the agriculture, the sweat, blood, and tears that went into that glass that
Right.
you're sipping on.
Mhm.
Right. I mean, nothing gives us more joy than to get a text on Thanksgiving dinner at Thanksgiving or any other holiday, and someone texts me with a picture of our bottle of wine on their table
Aw.
that they're sharing with their
Cool.
friends, and then telling our story. And the same thing, I think, what you were saying about in cities. I come from an urban planning background, and nothing, when you go into a new city or a new town and you see the interaction between public spaces and public art and how people interact with that public art or those public spaces, it's so important, I think, to the vitality and livability of our places. And so that's exciting to hear about Mexico City in that way.
Mm.
And one other
Mm.
thing one of the things, because I love art and I love public art, but one of the is a wine and art experience where
Yeah.
we pair our bottles of wine with 3 different or 4 different art pieces, and the artist
Cool.
talks about the inspiration behind how he created that sculpture, and we talk about why we selected a particular wine
I
to
like
pair
that.
with that sculpture
Yeah.
because of the joint inspiration between the 2 different kinds of artists. So just
Oh.
fun ways to interact with our wine than just pouring it, but really experiencing it in unique ways.
Mm.
Well,
I love that.
speaking of fun ways to interact, in addition to being International Wine Day, the 25th is also International Sing Out Day. And the idea is
I
that
love that.
whatever voice you have and
Mm.
whatever you're doing, sing out. So grab your glass of wine and then just everybody start singing.
Yeah.
One time I heard a
Cool.
priest tell a parishioner, she says, "Oh, I just can't sing." And he goes, "Whatever voice God gave you, that's what
Yeah.
you should
Yeah.
be exposing him to." So
Ah.
so I think that a lot of people need a little bit of wine to loosen them up to feel comfortable singing. But I think
Cool.
if we all sang more, I think it'd be a happier place.
Hey, listen, we were
Yeah.
on a trolley tour, a Christmas trolley tour in Asheville, North Carolina,
Oh my gosh,
and
that
we
was
got
so
in
much
there,
fun.
and it was Christmas going through the village, and it was all beautiful and everything,
Oh gosh, it was funny.
they started singing. There's a guy with a guitar and everything, and one lady decided that she was the queen singer, like she knew it, and she had
Opera
this
singer.
operatic voice,
Oh my
completely
God, I
off
thought I was
tune.
gonna wet
But
my
she was,
pants.
people were giggling so much, but she was so happy and felt so proud of herself. Like, no matter what, you gave her like props up to getting in the spirit, because she did. But she looked at us like, you need to sing like us. Like, we're like, no, we don't.
Like, no, we
But it
don't
was
want
so
to.
funny. But I think that it's so true. It's like, I think that's the beauty of karaoke. And I like to watch people sing karaoke, and I've done it, but it is
It's funny.
fun because people have to express themselves. Like, look at the dude with She Bang, She Bang. All he did is he really
No,
loved
not
to sing.
again.
Whether or not it was good, he got up there and he did it, and he made some money doing it. Just going,
Still
She
is.
Bang, She Bang.
He's
Come
still
on,
making
come
money.
on. Yeah, but good for him. He did something. He sang out loud. He did it. Real quick, Johnny. Now you said you had a song for that.
I do. Melissa Manchester, we're such good friends, and I've followed her music since I was a kid. And she, 2 different times, has recorded a song that she wrote called Singing from My Soul. And it starts out, if they ask me what to give the world, I would take the love inside of me, and there would be a song. And the whole song is just, I mean, about taking the song within you and sharing it with the world, and thereby sharing yourself with the world. And I think great
See,
song
and
for it.
that's exactly what birds do.
So now
Yeah.
I'm going to
Gotta
have
go
to
back
add
to the
Barry
wildlife.
Manilow. I hate to say it, but I'm going to have to add Barry Manilow. I write the
Oh.
song that makes
Well,
the whole
Yeah,
world
but
sing.
And
it
actually,
comes
Melissa
from
just
the
sang at a
birds.
big tribute to him at Carnegie Hall last week in New York City, and
Wow.
they're celebrating both she and he. I think it's both of their 50th year in the business. So they had a lot of great singers there. I think it's online somewhere. You can watch it. It was I know Michael
would-
Feinstein was there and a whole bunch of people, and it's a really, really great concert.
Oh,
I would
amazing.
love to see
Amazing.
that.
And everyone, she did so much with Bette Midler too. Like,
Mhm.
Melissa Manchester, look her up. Her history is incredible. I want to go back around the room here. It is International Tea Day. That is a big deal on this week. So we've got International Wine and International
it.
Tea Day. And I know some of our guests here know all about tea. I think Glenn, you know about tea a little bit, don't you? It's International Tea Day is on May 21st. It's hard to do all the holidays for a full week, but International Tea Day, we do have an article, an interview we did about Nepal Tea Company, which we'll link in the show notes, and anything else to do with all of these holidays will be linked in the show notes, because there's so much more than what we can talk about. But Glenn, tell us about your perfect tea experience.
Well, my perfect tea experience is to have an afternoon tea, which for me would include some very nice cucumber sandwiches with the crust cut off. No, I actually like.
Oh.
I like
Listen,
crust.
Nancy did that to her toast yesterday, and I said to her, "What is this?
What
You've
a
gone
waste.
back to
What is-
England?" She cut her
Yeah.
toast crust off.
Yeah.
But it also has to include a cheese scone, because
I
you
knew
just
it.
have, you
Yes.
just have to have a cheese scone. But I mean, a lot of you folk who like sugary things would actually love a normal scone with jam and cream on it, or cream and jam, depends on where you
Yum.
come from. And yeah, an afternoon tea is just something you have to try, because it is just so English and
Yeah.
so refreshing and so posh. It's
Okay, but
really
okay, when you do your afternoon tea, because like in South Africa, we used to drink rooibos tea, which comes from there. And it's a very good antioxidant. It's very good for your body. And anytime anything happened, it's just like England, bring the tea kettle
Yeah.
out,
Yeah.
have a cup of tea.
everybody has a kettle. Now, do you guys now do the electric kettles instead of like the stove top kettles? Is it
Yeah,
gone
of course
to
we
the?
do. Of course we do.
Oh, come on. All right. I like the whistle of the kettle.
I
I
have
really do.
electricity.
I
was
know.
talking, funnily enough, I was talking about the whistling kettle to my mum the other day, because my grandparents used to have a kettle that sat on the edge of the hearth all the time, and it would sit on the side of the fender on the fire, and my granddad would sit in the chair beside the fire, and he would shout to my grandmother, who would be in the kitchen somewhere, "The kettle's boiling," and she'd have to come running to take the kettle off the fire. Oh, I thought it was quite funny, but there.
It
Yeah,
is
yeah.
funny.
No, but isn't that it? So hey, you've got to remember, Cat Stevens did the album "Tea for the Tillerman." I'm just saying. I love. Well,
But-
it's Yusuf now, but
But
he's amazing.
Some of my favorite songs actually have got tea in them, like "Everything Stops for Tea," which is a very nice little song, and also "Tea for Two," which is very, very nice.
Oh, Angela, he stole your
Tea
song.
for two.
Oh no, sorry, did I?
da,
Oh,
da,
sorry
da.
about that.
Yeah, but you did a Nat King Cole, Angela, for tea, International Tea Day, which I had never heard him do actually. So it's an amazing song.
Yeah, jazz version. And you know, the thing is that Glenn's talking about the kettle and you're talking about the kettle, but not everybody has a kettle. And that is my one, can I say my one beef, that when I'm in the States, you cannot make a cup of tea without boiling the water. You can't make a cup of tea with water that hasn't yet boiled. And so many,
You need the roll.
and so many homes don't have an electric kettle. And so, and when you go to a restaurant sometimes in the States, they'll give you, you'll ask for tea. I always take my own tea bags, always, because nobody drinks the tea that I drink in the States anyway. And you'll go into a restaurant and say tea, and they bring you this cup with lukewarm water, but it hasn't boiled, and you cannot make a cup of tea without it. But interestingly, and get these stats, that every second people consume 25,000 cups of tea, meaning that more than 2 billion cups of tea are consumed per day around the world. Just imagine that. And so, and
America, get on it.
And the other thing is, I will go into homes and that tea, and like Glenn says, afternoon tea is the, you know, that's what we do, whether you're at the Ritz in London or whether you're going to a cafe somewhere, but that's afternoon tea. And that enjoyment and getting into that is just something really very special. And so, you know, take tea for two. And yeah, I found Nat King Cole. So
yeah. You know, my grandmother was British, and anytime there was any drama at all in our family, which there was plenty of it, there was plenty. The first thing she'd say, we're not going to argue. We have to have a cup of tea.
A cup of tea.
Cup of tea first. And once you've got the tea and you've had 2 sips, now you can talk.
Yeah. But don't
calm everybody down. Calm everybody down. And then we can be back to, remember, we are civilized.
Okay, so what is, okay, let's go back to the teas, because like I drink rooibos, which is more of a bush tea, right? It's not even an herb tea, it's a bush tea. It is. It's an herb tea. It's different. But now then you get into the Earl Greys and everything, the Liptons, and so Angela, what do you drink?
It's got to be Yorkshire Gold. And that you actually can buy it in the States. I think you can go to world markets and they have it. But I take it with me wherever I go.
Listen, I have to tell you, get some. When here in the States, do you know what? The girls here, where we are in Maryland, they knew it was Nancy's birthday, so they got the best they could for her, for crunchy bars for her birthday, and an Aero bar, and they got me the most biggest jar of Marmite I have ever seen, and actually cream crackers. Do you know? Listen, there's nothing like a cream cracker, and I'm sorry, saltines are not it, America. Cream crackers and Marmite. I'm sorry, but it makes my heart so happy. I will do anything for Marmite.
Mr. Whippy.
And Mr. Whippy too. And I do want rock, but I don't think my teeth like it anymore now that I'm an adult and I already ate too much rock. I think I had problems from that later, Glenn. But Glenn, what's your tea?
I just like a cup of builder's tea, as we call it. I don't mind what it is, as long as it's nice and strong.
So it's black tea. So
no. I do have milk in it sometimes. I don't mind milk or not milk. It never does worry me really.
I mean black tea versus green tea and white tea.
Sorry, black tea. Yeah, I mean I also have tea with milk or tea without milk, but it is black tea leaves rather than green tea leaves.
Now in this country we have iced tea, sweet tea if you're in the South, and Sweet Tea is one of my favorite songs by one of my favorite musicians of all time, Buddy Guy. So that's on the playlist. So I want to ask, Johnny Schaefer, do you drink iced tea, sweet tea? Do you drink tea?
Yeah, I drink both. I drink, of course, it's great for singers. And when I have a recording session or if I've got a gig, a tea with honey and lemon is great. Because I have allergies, and so the lemon kind of cuts the phlegm, and then the honey is great for kind of soothing the vocal cords. And
Do you
I'll
do a
that
black
with-
tea or do you do a chamomile? Because when I try to do all the chamomile stuff, it didn't work. Maybe I needed the kick.
I usually do black tea or green tea. I've
Huh.
been doing more green
Ah.
tea for like the health benefits that people talk about with it. And then I love iced tea. In fact, I prefer it to like soda or at dinner. That's my
Oh, yeah.
go-to
Mm.
iced tea. And so yeah, and I like
Soda is
tea with
bad.
cinnamon. Yeah, I almost never do
Soda's
soda.
really bad.
Soda is just, I think soda is really bad for us. And
Hey,
I don't know. It just,
my
just,
granny taught me how to put all sorts of stuff in tea. Just
Mm.
oh,
so-
of course she did. Yeah. Well, your Nana was a naughty girl. Peggy, do you change from wine to anything other than water?
I love this conversation. I don't know much about tea at all. And what I love kind of connects back to what we were talking earlier about connections. What is so civilized, I think, about afternoon tea is that it forces you to sit
Stop.
down and
Yeah.
take a breath and
Yeah.
just to slow down. I think the U.S. can learn a lot from that
Mhm.
experience because we
Yeah.
don't really
Mm.
have anything like that. But yeah, I don't
Yeah.
drink tea. I never have, and I just never think about it. But
Yeah.
love this.
She has wine
conversation.
time instead.
okay,
Because the
when-
tea
when
time in
we
England is wine time for
No,
Peggy.
but when we
Yeah.
come visit you, I'm going to make you one of my Nana's cup of teas.
And you might be really
Would
happy.
love it.
I know. So
Would
Peggy,
love it.
you talked about last time on the show, you cruised the Rhine, right? You did this, you went through Europe and
Yep.
you've got
Mhm.
Italian history, right? And stuff. So I
Mhm.
mean, when you're in Europe, did you see a lot of tea? Like and go like, hey, come on
Of
now,
course.
come on my side.
And I
Yeah.
have done high teas. I have done that, and I've done that
Oh, hello.
in Europe, and I've done it in the
Not that way.
U.S. You know, which is becoming more popular at resorts and places that you can do
Mm.
tea. But it's not. It needs to be on everyone's normal schedule, I think, on a regular basis to sit back. And if you can't do it with tea, you know, spend
Do it
a
with water. Do
afternoon
whatever.
with
Yeah.
do it with a glass of nice wine and take
Ah.
a break and
It is
and
about taking a
enjoy some
break.
downtime. It is.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep.
but there's also in South Africa was very much that way about tea.
Yeah.
Nancy and I were always coffee people and tea people because I'm a rooibos tea person. Think from growing up in South Africa too. And Kenya was a big tea. I mean, we lived on
Oh,
a
that
tea
was a
plantation in
tea
Kenya, you
plantation.
know.
was
You know,
awesome.
everybody knows out of Africa. Well, we, you know, lived in the servants, our first house, in South Africa, Kenya was, you know, the servants' quarters for Karen Blixen's
Mm.
land,
Mm.
on the tea plantation.
That
And
was so cool.
now it's and then we graduated out of that a little bit, and it was a beautiful house. It was transformed and everything, but this Karen, the neighborhood of Karen, we looked at it on Google the other day, and holy cow, where we
Oh my
lived is
gosh.
like we were millionaires, man. I mean, multi millionaires. What you can
The
see where
bears.
we lived in Kenya over 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Oh, I don't want to date ourselves, but and Nancy
Yeah,
just
be
had a
careful.
birthday, and I'm about to have mine, so that's like a mess. But it is I mean, we were so lucky that, you know, understanding we were in an agricultural place and understanding that, and tea time in Kenya, because it was so colonized,
Mm,
not
mm.
colonized. That's not a
Yeah,
good word.
truly.
Colonized, was
Oh, boy.
such a big deal. Everybody stopped and took time. So we've done International Tea Day, but International or Wine Day too. I think it really goes with the same thing. It's actually understanding the craft, the diligence, the Nepal tea makers, the tea people we were talking to. I mean, what they do, they actually have people go out to Nepal and go out and harvest tea with people. And they've made it a
Mhm.
community thing. And it's this amazing thing about real small farms and how can we make things happen. Like wineries can't just be a winery without tasting rooms or programs. Tea farms can't just be a tea farm unless you get into the big, you know, we'll take everything, people, so I think
Mhm.
these holidays, we need to look at it. May 26th is National Road Trip Day. Oh, wait,
Yay.
I want to go back to Wine and Tea Day real quick, because I know we're running out of time. But I want to go to each of you and ask you if you could spend wine time or tea time, doesn't matter which. It's about spending that hour, like Peggy was saying. It's that 4 o'clock hour, right? Who could you invite? This is our old happy hour question, but it's a good one. If you could invite anyone to spend, I'm going to say happy hour, whether it's wine or tea, because of that day, who would you have spend that with? And where would you spend it? So it could be someone alive or past that you could sit and have a conversation with and learn from or be inspired from or reconnect with. So I want to start with you, Johnny. Who would you sit down with for that wine or tea time happy hour?
It's interesting. I was thinking about this the other day because, Paco, my husband Paco, hasn't been with his family for 4 years due to COVID and all that. So he's been, kind of catching up with everybody. And they do always have an afternoon where they just kind of everybody sits down. And I thought it'd be so nice to do that with my parents. My mom passed about 3 years ago, and then my dad died in 82. And over the years, I've thought of so many things I'd love to ask them. I was able to ask my mom a lot of things during the year before she died because we were their caregivers before she passed. But even since then, I've thought, oh, I wish I would have asked her this or that. And so I think, family connections, because it's sort of, there are things that I wonder about now with my childhood. You experience your childhood differently than maybe how it actually happened. And so I think sometimes having some of those questions answered. Paco's been able to do that with his brothers and sisters, finding out things that sort of inform what he thought his journey was. And now he's realizing that things were different, and it's helpful sometimes. Like my brothers and I are different ages, and we had very different childhoods, and I'm realizing that now. And so even just talking to them about how we perceive what happened to us is really helpful. So I think I'd spend it with family members that I really loved.
That's
I
cool.
like that. I like that. What about
Mhm.
you, Peggy?
I've been listening to the Michelle Obama's podcast, and she talks about her kitchen table of friends. And so what I think I would want to do is bring some of my wine and invite myself to her kitchen table, and
good girl.
chat with these amazing women from all walks of life that
You go.
kind of share experiences and just kind of it sounds like a really fun group. And I mean, I have my kitchen table of friends I've known. Some of them I've known since I was in 3rd grade, and some that are more from my wine experience. But, having a group of friends that knew you before life kind of took hold, sitting around and chatting with those folks is really special to me. And of course, it would be a wine experience since I don't know anything about tea.
All right. So, hey, I love that. I love that. What about you, Angela?
I would actually love to take afternoon tea somewhere in the English countryside, and I'd like to sit down with David Attenborough.
Oh,
cool.
you know what? Nancy's birthday and theirs are right next to each other. She loves
My
David Attenborough.
He's
Oh,
my
you're,
hero.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
you stole hers.
Mm.
But go ahead. She's a thief on this show today.
And I would just, I mean, what a man, what a living legend, and a man whose soul is at the heart of, the environment and animals. And I would like to ask him, truthfully, what does he feel that the future holds, and what can we do differently? Well, we know what we can do differently, but what's, how does he really feel about what the future holds? That's what I'd like to do. That's what I'd like to do.
I love it. I love it.
I
Glenn,
like that.
what about you?
Well, this last couple of years, I've made a discovery with my DNA that
Uh-oh.
I would like to discuss with my great grandmother, because
Hello.
her husband doesn't appear to be my grandfather's father.
Oh,
Oh
you're
my
starting to sound like Nancy's family now.
Yeah,
See how I just said Nancy, not our family, but it's Nancy's
I'm
side?
sorry, but seriously, that's fun. I love it.
Oh, are you
You're
serious,
just
Glenn?
starting out.
Oh.
That
That's
sounds
so-
like my family too.
Oh, we might all be related.
nobody seems to have known that my great grandfather actually wasn't my great grandfather, even though they'd been married for several years.
Oh my gosh, that's
And
so
when
funny.
I had my DNA, I discovered that I had no relations on that side of the family at all.
Wow.
So I need to sort of have a little chat with her to find out what happened. I can imagine probably what happened, because they were in a very poor area of Kings Lynn and they didn't have any money. So I could imagine probably what happened, but I would just like to have a little chat with her. And also I'd like to sort of let her know the effect that had, because I've had about 40 years of research in my family history, and that particular branch has been a complete waste of time.
Listen, I want you to know
All
that
right,
Pip,
I-
the little
I'm gonna-
Frenchie, when you started talking,
Yeah.
Glenn, looked up
Mm.
with me and rolled
Mm.
his eyes like, oh, not that again.
No,
In
but-
that, like,
okay.
apparently you're not the only one.
No,
And
All
I-
right,
and,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, apparently a lot of people are going through, and now he's looking at me like,
no, I
that's
just
right.
wanted,
It happens
have
in
to
France
say-
too.
when my parents have both passed, and I received some papers, to which I found I have 5 different birth certificates. Rob's your uncle. I just
No,
I
she's got
picked
it's not 5 years. There's 2 of that, but there's 3 marriage certificates. There's like a whole. It's a hot mess, and
it's a hot
someone needs.
mess.
I think
I
you
just
need to
picked the
send Glenn a
youngest
box of when we get to Tucson into
no.
our storage unit. We're sending Glenn a
Seriously.
box of information.
Yeah,
No,
do.
and so I don't know what happened in that
I get-
generation.
All I know
but
is
I think there was a lot of like shenanigans going on
Well,
between
Pips
a lot
just
of
snorted.
people a lot of the time. And it's seriously, when I look at all this, I'm like, I just picked the youngest one and went with that, because it was what my mom always told me: you were born on this date in this year.
no.
I
That's
really do not know.
you might
but
not
I'm
be a
going-
Taurus, Nancy, and that would go against the grain.
Well,
I'm pretty sure I'm a Taurus.
DNA doesn't lie.
Oh, that's right,
So-
Glenn. You keep telling us we need to do that. We
Oh,
need to
maybe
do
I
it.
should go do that. But
We
then
were
do I
supposed to do
want
it for your birthday, and we didn't do it. We told Glenn on his last show we
Really?
would do it. We didn't.
Do
We're
I
stupid.
want to really know?
Oh, let's do it. And then
Ah,
Glenn, when we get to Tucson, which we will, we will go into our storage unit, get our information, all these little
Oh,
birth
it's
certificate
so
things,
weird.
and we're gonna copy them all and send them to you in a nice little
Mhm.
box. And then Glenn will come on a show and go, "Girls, what the hell happened in your past?" You know, but he's already discovered, like our my best friend from high school. I mean, her history is insanely cool, right? And we're gonna
Wow,
do a
yes.
show with Glenn and Melissa at some point, and she's all excited. I mean, she's got royalty in her family and stuff. Like some what
Just amazing.
Glenn's email to her connecting with me. We're driving to Asheville on our next sit, you know, and I get this email between Glenn and my friend Melissa, and it's like, Nancy and Lisa need to like curtsy. I need to bow down, and Nancy and Lisa need to curtsy to you. I'm like, this is my high school friend. I'm not curtsying for her. Yeah,
No.
I'd do anything for her, but curtsy. I don't know, but this has been a point of hystericals for us ever since you sent that, Glenn.
That's
But
so
but
funny.
I think it's the family
Mm.
history is really an interesting thing, you know, of what you can
It is.
expect. Yeah, Nancy, who do you want to have tea or wine with? I know it's wine, so let's go there.
Oh no, it's gonna be, well, no, you could have tea first and then you could have wine.
I think you could do both on the same day.
You know, if it's the person you really
Mhm.
interested in, you could go from tea time to wine time.
Yeah. Perfect.
Oh gosh, I think today I would like to talk to Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah, I'm with you.
and ask him like what he saw back then and what he sees today and what he thought he got right and what he thought he got wrong,
Mm.
and just see. Because I mean, he was pretty forward, like he seemed to be able to know the human body without really,
Mm.
yeah, I don't know, he didn't dissect anybody, I don't believe.
Mm.
You know, I think he was incredibly brilliant and talented. And he's probably looking down and looking at humanity and like, dude,
Mm.
this is not how you design freeways.
I I would like to meet Jack White, the musician. There's a whole bunch of people, but Jack White today, because I just did this interview. Craig Nelson will be on our show same day Glenn is on, the fourth Saturday, who is a World War II historian and writer, and wrote a book, V is for Victory. And it was about Franklin Delano Roosevelt and his involvement in World War II. And because his presidency ended, right, at the beginning of World War II, people just don't look at his role of World War II. And he was the one who got, basically, when you hear about war makes money, like, I always like, that's just a terrible saying. And like, what the hell is that? But his book really made it make sense. And after the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl and all of these things that had happened in our country, he really was able to get people together and rile them up like, this is a good fight, and come together as a community in the country, the not the author, but the Franklin, FDR, and work with England and France and get all the allies together and use all the manufacturers like Henry Ford to make things happen. And he talked about at that time uniting government and business and the
For
military
a reason.
and the actual community together for a good fight. And that's when we talk about the greatest generation, is when everything was in sync, which we are not now.
No.
But no, it's not, because right now we're all fighting the government, we're fighting this, we're fighting that. But he got everybody together. And it's like when we talk about the very beginning of the show today, we talked about how relationships are and how it's about having that one-on-one where let's get together on one topic. And from there we get to know each other. It's the full circle. No, we didn't
Yeah.
cover every holiday and everything, but that's never going to happen. It is about what it is at the moment. We did talk about tea and wine, so, and music. So that's okay. And of course, Johnny's songs are in the playlist. But
Thank you.
this is the thing. He got everyone together to fight a good fight. And it was a fight that people were losing lives over. Our country worked together. And I find that fascinating. Also, Eleanor Roosevelt apparently had affairs. Marilyn Monroe was Rosie the Riveter, who knew all these fun things. But I find that fascinating about, like, when you go to the Midwest, and Nancy and I have done that, and we're covering that. And when we're in the Southwest and other areas, people always kind of like poo-pooed the Midwest in a way. Now, if
I
you're in the
know.
Southwest and do business in the Southwest, you understand how important the Midwest is as a market. But when you go there, these are hardworking people. And going through places like Erie, Pennsylvania, where we saw how the waffle iron was made and how it was made possible to go to the West and go to, even at the time when they were mining in Tombstone, Arizona, just near where Peggy is, where Tombstone was, in Tent City, they were getting oysters and they were getting all these things because of the railroad going up to San Francisco so they could get these luxury items. The same time, they could get waffle irons because of the railroad, because they were being made in Erie, Pennsylvania. But all of that stuff is what actually helped World War II get fought and won. I find that
With the
fascinating.
waffle iron?
So I go back to Jack White, the musician from Detroit, who's standing strong for vinyl. And also his last Supply and Demand tour, I find fascinating. He takes creativity to every element he possibly can in his life. in design, graphic design, in creating baseball bats, in creating furniture and designing for furniture, which he was an upholsterer first. But in Detroit, what he did was amazing. So anyway, it's all good. So
Somebody should invent a baseball bat that has a curve in it so it could hit curve balls. That'd
yes,
be fun to watch.
but anyway, he's good. So anyway, we all have to get going. But Jack
Oh,
White,
sorry.
I want to have tea with him and talk about the power of creativity and moving forward. Glenn, I know you need to get going. Thank you for joining us. Everyone, Norfolk-tours.co.uk is the place to go for Glenn. He's on our show every fourth Saturday. You can keep up with him there. Angela, thank you for joining us over at Trusted House Sitters. Glenn, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, sorry, I thought you were
I
going
know.
to.
I
Yeah,
know, but
I must get off. So I will
It's-
see you all very soon, and thanks very much for a great show.
thank
Bye,
you.
Glenn.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful tea.
Yeah,
All
good.
right, thanks,
Bye.
thanks, Glenn. Thank you, Angela, for joining us from Trusted House Sitters. Everyone, if you're a pet parent or a traveler like Nancy and I, digital nomads, this is a site for you to join. No one's making money from it. It is a mutual membership. Is that the way to say it, Angela?
It's a
everyone-
mutually beneficial exchange.
There we go.
It's a win-win-win, and the biggest win is for the pets because they get to stay at home with their own one-to-one concierge. Nothing like it, pet care. And so, yeah, and pet parents get to travel with absolute peace of mind. And Nancy and Lisa get to stay in a home from home with pets and
internet.
and create their amazing shows, etc., so they can work from home anywhere across the country. And we are that community. We are community, and let's stay close. Thank you for inviting me. It's been a great pleasure as always, and I will see you soon.
Thank you. And listen, this is it. You can't beat doing a podcast with a Frenchie on your lap who snorts. Like seriously, you can't beat that. You can't beat that. And that's the joy of this. People always
I
go,
love it.
oh, can we hire you? I'm like, no, you have to join Trusted House Sitters. There's no hiring. We're not doing this for the money. This is, it feels good to be at a home. It feels, you can actually, pour Peggy's wine and enjoy the food you want with it. That's the difference. Then,
That's right. And you don't have to drive anywhere either. You don't have to have a designated driver. You can sit at home and you can have that wine, you can have that meal, and it doesn't cost you a fortune.
Listen, poolside where we are. Can I just say poolside with a grill that we grilled vegetables. Yeah, we had what we couldn't do what we can. Yeah, it's
Can't
beautiful.
do it in a hotel.
No.
Not like this.
No. So everyone, trustedhousesitters.com. And if you go to nationalparktraveling.com, type in pet sitting across America, and you'll see our map of pets, which we still need to update because we got new babies in there to put on there. We got new babies to put up there. And I want to thank also Peggy Fiandaca for calling in from the Cochise Stronghold. I'm still going to say the Cochise Stronghold because it just sounds cool, Peggy.
That's okay. No worries.
I think you need to make a Cochise Stronghold wine.
I was just thinking we need a Cochise wine.
Yeah. Cochise.
Yeah.
I think awesome. So. I think he's bold
I'll
and
put
red.
it on the to-do list.
I know. She's like, I'll just make another wine for Nancy and Lisa, because, got nothing else to
Cochise. Yeah, Cochise was here wine.
Yeah, everyone. Peggy's on our show every first Wednesday, so stay tuned for that at bigblendradio.com, and of course go to ldvwinery.com. And I encourage you to sign up for their newsletter because you get all the happenings at the winery, the tasting room, all their events, and also recipes, links to their videos, and all kinds of good stuff. So you want to stay tuned for that. And also want to thank you, Johnny, for joining us while you just arrived literally in Mexico City. So I know you need to go get a tequila or something.
Yeah. And Friday the 26th is National Road Trip Day or International Road Trip Day. And we're going to take a road trip here in Mexico. So if you're able to, I encourage people to take a road trip because there's such great adventures.
Oh,
I think Nancy and I are quite pros at that. And we have a cool crossword puzzle. You've got tell everybody about your song, the road trip song, and then I want to tell people about the crossword for road trip
Sure.
day.
Yeah, I covered a song that was by a band, a fusion band called Sea Wind, that was popular back in the 80s, and Angela Blofeld did a really beautiful version of it as well. I took a different twist with it. I kind of made it like a vocal pop with a little bit of reggae flavor in it, just to make it kind of a fun song for a road trip. So it's called Follow Your Road, and it's just it's a fun cover.
Cool. Can't wait, everyone. It's all in the playlist. So go check that out. And again, we're going to put all the links to everything in the show notes. So no matter if you're listening on YouTube, Facebook, Podbean, anywhere that you listen to, Google Podcasts, the links are there. And so for the playlist with Johnny's songs, Melissa Manchester's songs, in other words, there's so many songs that are going to be added, so there'll be a lot more. Check that out. And then also we do have a crossword puzzle for road tripping across America, where you can see all the crazy, wacky roadside attractions, like outside Las Cruces, New Mexico. If you're on your way heading towards Peggy, there's a giant road runner made out of recycled computer parts and all kinds of things.
It's so cool.
So you need to see that. And you pull over for,
Huge.
the giant, we've seen the world's longest chopsticks. And that is in
yarn.
a ball of yarn. Yeah, there's all kinds of things. So anyway, everybody, thank you for joining us for our first Big Weekly Blend podcast. If you go to blendradioandtv.com, sign up for our newsletter, and you'll get our new Big Weekly Blend magazine that keeps you up to date with the latest articles and podcasts, games, recipes that were featured from the week before. So one looks at the future, one looks at the past, and it's all combined. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Peggy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Enjoyed it. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.